Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Learn English with Billy. I'm Billy, I'm your host, and today we are going to talk about three common misconceptions about learning a second language. So, for starters, I'm going to define misconception. A misconception is basically something that a lot of people believe to be true, but it's not true. So, um, in this case, people have a lot of ideas or they think certain things are true about learning a second language. And I want to share three of those things that are not actually true and hopefully will help give you a little bit more information so that you feel more confident about your ability to learn English. Okay, so the first misconception that a lot of people believe is true, but is not true, is that kids learn languages easier than adults. Okay, so just to start, a huge amount of research has shown over and over and over again that adults like me and probably like you are better at learning languages than kids. So why does everyone think that kids learn languages more easily than adults? I think the reason why is because every kid is successful at learning some language to communicate with others. So every child, no matter who they are, eventually learns a language that they can use to communicate. But after a child is born, it takes 4, maybe 5 years for them to reach a level that is pretty good in their native language. And they're immersed in that language 24 hours a day for 4 or 5 years. Now, if you took an adult and you put them in an environment where they were listening to a second language all day, every day, and they were speaking that second language every single day, they would learn the language much, much, much more quickly. Maybe 1-2 years. And so the problem is that children, when they learn languages, they are immersed, they are in an environment where they speak and hear their native language all day, every single day. And so people think that because learning a second language is hard and it's difficult for them to do it, it takes a lot of time, that children learn more quickly than adults. It's not true. Okay, the second misconception is that it's possible to learn a second language just by taking a class. So people sign up for a class, and then they expect that at the end of the class, if they show up to the class, that they will have learned the second language. It's not going to happen. like that. It takes about 500 to 1,000 hours of exposure to a language in order to feel comfortable speaking and listening and comprehending native speakers. So speaking with native speakers and comprehending what native speakers are saying, what they're telling you, it takes about 500 to 1,000 hours. It's a lot. So that's a whole lot of hours. So if you are in a class, if you sign up for a class and you go 2 times per week for a whole year, that's only about 100 hours, 100 hours. So if it takes 500 to 1,000 hours of practice with a language to learn the language so that you can confidently speak with native speakers, then you would have to go to that class 2 times per week for 5 years. 5 years. So it's not true that you can just take a class in a second language and learn that language. So what do you have to do instead? Well, it's great to take a class in a second language. It's fantastic. It can be a wonderful way to help your learning process, to accelerate your learning process. But you also have to get exposure to the language outside of class. So using that 500 to 1,000 hour rule, if you are exposed, if you're listening and speaking a language for 1 hour per day, every single day, then it's going to take about 2 years to feel comfortable communicating with native speakers, because 365 days in 1 year is about 700 hours total over 2 years. So if you are taking an English class, for example, then you have to be willing, like if you want to get comfortable speaking English and comprehending English, then you have to be willing to spend more time outside of class being exposed to things in English, listening to music in English, speaking English hopefully with native English speakers, taking conversational lessons in English where you and a teacher are speaking in English the whole time, finding partners who are willing to speak with you in English and you can hear them speak English, watching TV shows or listening to podcasts in English. So all of those ways are ways to get more exposure to English outside of class. Okay, the final misconception, the third and final misconception that I wanted to talk about is that you should avoid trying to make mistakes. You should not try to make mistakes. It's really, really, really important when you're learning a language to be willing to make mistakes. I speak Spanish with a lot of native Spanish speakers, and I make so many mistakes, so many. And I think when I make a mistake, I see it as an opportunity to learn. So it's better to look at a mistake as an opportunity that I can learn something, as opposed to like being hard on yourself or like being like, oh, I'm terrible at Spanish or at English or whatever the language is. So making mistakes is actually a sign that you are trying to learn, that you are making progress, that you are learning the language. It's the only way to learn. So if you really want to learn a language for real, then you have to be willing to make mistakes. It's really, really important that you are willing to make mistakes. Okay, so we talked about 3 misconceptions. Kids learn faster than adults. Not true. Adults learn faster than children, so you can too. It's possible to learn a language just by taking a class in that language. Nope. You have to get exposure outside of class. And third and final, that you should avoid trying to make mistakes. No, you should be willing and welcome mistakes. Mistakes are good. They're good. They are a sign that you are learning and growing in your ability to speak the language. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And until next time, see you later.